I'm Lindsey Lomis.
Lindsey Lomis.
I'm Lindsey.
Lindsey Lomis.
My name's Lindsey Lomis.
Okay, so you probably know my name by now. I'm Lindsey Lomis. I'm a 19-year-old singer-songwriter signed with Warner Records. I just put out a new EP called Daydreaming, and I wanted to pay tribute to some women in the music business that have inspired me. I've done it in a series called Into You. It's been a crazy ride so far, and I hope you stick around to follow my journey. This is episode 5, KOLE.
Count up all your problems, then just make a wait. Slow motion.
Nicole Cohen, how are you?
Hello, Lindsey Lomis. How are you?
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to be here.
I relish in the moment that we get to communicate and talk, and whether it's text or whatever, I relish in it. I just am so excited whenever I get the chance to see you and talk to you, and feel like it's been a while since we've gotten to sit down and talk. And I'm excited for this one too, because I already know you very well, so I'm excited to just crack it open and learn even more.
Oh my God, into the depths. I'm
exactly.
ready to dive.
I feel like I have to first and foremost introduce you as my songwriting soulmate. This is Nicole, who goes by KOLE, and I have been working with KOLE for probably a year and a half, probably.
Yeah, I would say that's almost 2 years though, because it's almost June, and I met you in June of 2020. How crazy is that?
What?
Or maybe it was July. But we're coming up on 2.
It probably was summer 2020. We met over Zoom.
Yeah.
And I honestly just since the day we worked together, I'm I will only have Nicole in my sessions from now on. No, she's the only one. I want her in every session. I won't do it if Cole's not there.
And I want to be there for every song she ever writes.
I love it. I know. It just hits different when you're not there. I just have to have you there.
Oh, well,
but
I
want to get to know you more. Obviously, you grew up in LA.
I did. Wow, she did her research.
You know. Very unique experience. I feel like it's rare that you meet a lot of people who grow up in LA. I get the same thing with the Nashville thing. It's like a unicorn, you know?
Yep, unicorn, absolutely.
But of course. But when did you get into music?
Well, I grew up playing piano, classical piano. I started when I was 4 and did competitions in Southern California and was very into that for a long time. And I always sang around the house, always sang and put on shows for my family and my cousins when they were in town, or when we would go to, my family's from Toronto, so we would go there, and there were legendary shows. There are home videos.
Oh, we better insert a home video right now.
Just the entire score of Wicked and High School Musical and just the classics, really. So yeah, I was doing that as a kid and did some musicals and was in choir, and in middle school I was in a band, and that was when I started writing, was for this band.
Incredible.
And I bring them a song that I wrote at home, and I'm like, guys, I have this song. It's my first song I've ever written. I think we should play it at Grandparents' Day. And they rejected the song because it was too sad. So my first pitch was rejected by my own band.
This is your comeback story.
This really is it. It's
so
all
were you lead singer in the band, or were you playing piano?
I was co-lead singer. There was another girl, and
so that's where it went
shared
wrong.
The stage. Yes, I think she had it out for me. She was like, "We're not singing your originals." So
essentially, she's the one who said no to your song.
She is the one who said no to my song. No, I think it was a group thought. But I ended up performing it at school. I think outside of that setting, I think I played it at a spring concert or something like that, and I just ended up having some mentors when I was 11, 12 who were older musicians, and they sort of were like, you should do this, you should keep doing this, and why don't you bring me one song a week? And I kind of got into the habit of writing a song every Sunday from maybe 12 to 15, and then that was kind of how I started out writing. And I would be in my room I'm gonna pretend I'm writing for Demi Lovato.
That's the way to do it. And now you're you're doing it for a living.
I was really practicing.
Do your parents have any sort of musical background, or did you kind of dive into that on your own?
My dad played trumpet in college, but that is the extent of nobody knows where it came from, because my dad's a doctor. My mom was a therapist and a grief counselor. And I think my great aunt played piano, but not in any sort of professional capacity. So there's nobody else in music in my entire family, like either side. So
that's incredible. I feel like we have that same thing. My dad played sax in college, and I think he likes to say like I got my musical bone from that, but I don't think
my dad was like in the marching band, which I think exactly. I don't even count. Like I'm sorry.
It doesn't count, but that's incredible. So obviously you started with performing and with piano and that background. I feel like most musicians start with more of the performance aspect of music and then realize you can become a writer, whether it's for yourself or other artists. When did you kind of realize that you loved writing as much as you do and wanted to take that on as a career path, not only your artist project?
I think when I found out that Colby Kelly didn't write Bubbly alone,
yeah,
that changed my life, because I was like, who are these other people? Because I had assumed, I mean, when you're 10, 11 years old, you just think whoever's singing the song wrote it and produced it. Like, you have no idea. You're just like, oh, this is a song that this person made in their room by themselves, which now does happen, but back then did not happen at all, because everybody needed studios to record at, and it wasn't like it is now. But yeah, I think I found that out, and I was like, you can be a songwriter. And I think even when I was in college, I was sort of pursuing like an artist career, and I took a class called Songwriters on Songwriting, and every week a different songwriter would come in. So like Mike Posner came in one week, and then like Rick Knowles, who did all the Lana Del Rey stuff, came in, who I ended up working with this year, and that was crazy. But
full circle. Very
full circle. But you know, Justin Tranter came in before he was Justin Tranter. Like he just had like a big Imagine Dragons cut, but hadn't even met Julia Michaels yet. Like, so I was exposed to all these different people and the different paths. And I think that was when I really seriously was like, I would like to do this, because I've always enjoyed writing in a ton of different styles. Like I would say very like genre fluid in that way. 100%. So I was like, oh, there's a career where you can write from a bunch of people's perspectives in a bunch of different genres. Sign me up. How do I do it?
That's incredible. So you went to UCLA, and that's where you're saying this class was.
Yes, the class was at UCLA.
Incredible. So I like to talk to people about the college experience. Obviously, I'm choosing not to go, but I always like to learn more about it and what, you know, if it was worthwhile, if you got a lot out of it, especially as a musician going to art school. I think the biggest thing is connections, and that kind of class sounds incredible, just meeting people who actually do it, who are in the field doing it. Yep. So what was your major at UCLA, and was it worthwhile for you in the long run, and did you enjoy your experience there?
Yeah, so I started UCLA as an English major, actually, and I started
little writer, such a writer.
You know, I was like creative in all ways, but I started when I was 16. So my first year of college, I lived at home, and I just commuted to UCLA. I'm from the Valley, so I just drove, and I didn't really feel like I had a college experience. It was more like extension classes almost, because I would just go to class, go home, go to film club. That was like my activity that I did. And then the second year, my sophomore year, second year, my sophomore year, I moved onto campus, and I joined a sorority, and I joined the music program, because I found out about a program called ethnomusicology, which is the study of world music, and it's basically the intersection of sociology, anthropology, and musicology. So it's very hands-on. You learn a lot about where music comes from different parts of the world, and you learn how to play all these very niche instruments. So was it super useful? I don't know. It's hard to say. For me, it's where I grew the most socially and had a ton of life experiences that I definitely wouldn't have had. Useful. And I wasn't social at all before college. I didn't go to parties. Like I didn't go out. And I don't know if I would have made the effort to do those things if I had gone straight into music. But yeah, I also met a lot of my best friends there who are all jazz musicians and incredible artists. But I remember it exposed me to so much music that I'd never been exposed to before, because I was very into like, Carole King and Joni Mitchell and Bob Dylan, like very folk. That was all I listened to. Yeah. And then I walked into my friend's apartment for the first time that I had met this group of friends that I'm still friends with. And they had that song, Nakamura, the Hiatus Coyote one. I feel like you would know it if you heard it. Right. Oh. So they had that live video.
I love that song.
On a loop for the entire night. And I was like, what is this song? Who are these people? I've never heard anything like this before. Yeah. So that was kind of the introduction to the land of like Hiatus Coyote and James Blake and Thundercat and just so much music that I had never experienced before. And a lot of that did come from my friends. Some of it came from class, like especially when you're talking about like the origins of hip hop and R&B and where music comes from, and all of that was in school, but there was a lot of learning that happened outside of the classroom.
Which sounds extremely valuable for you as a writer too. And a lot of those artists you initially mentioned that you were listening to before going to school, they're very much like lyricism based. Like it is all about the lyrics. So being introduced to this whole like melody world, and just not even just regular melody, but like wild melodies that blow your mind. Yeah,
I was like, what's flat 5?
Yeah,
what is the 13? Like I had been schooled in classical music. Like I'd been trained, I did theory like all my life. So I was like, I know music. I can talk about theory in a way that everyone will understand. And then I was in my jazz theory class, like 101, and I was so in over my head. It took a while, but when it clicked, but it did take a while for me I remember being like, I don't understand what is happening. And I had never had trouble with that before, but
which is also I've realized a very good environment to put yourself in is when you're surrounded by people that know way more than you. It's terrifying, but it's a very good learning experience. And so that class you mentioned as well, that the what was it called?
Like the major was called ethnomusicology, and then each class would cover like a different part of the world, essentially,
which is incredible. Country. And you have done you have had a lot of cuts in K-pop, and you've worked with a lot of K-pop artists. Did that kind of help you get introduced to that whole world?
To be honest, I think the most they covered K-pop was Gangnam Style. I think that was our 30-minute lecture. This is K-pop. Moving
Write a
on.
song like that.
Yeah, we did study some Korean traditional operas, actually, was one thing that we did. So not super relevant to K-pop as it stands now, but at least I feel knowledgeable going over, like I've been over there a few times, and I at least have some understanding of their evolution of music over there, some general understanding of it. So that's nice to be able to have conversations with people about music from like the 1800s if they're into that. But yeah, the K-pop stuff is so much fun, and I've really enjoyed doing it, and it's a totally different, in a way it's very different from US music, but at the same time there's a lot of overlapping aspects, and you can just go crazy with harmonies and really put anything you want into one of those tracks, and it's a blast.
Which is your zone, is the harmonies. I've learned so much from you, from vocal production world. You are incredible at that. But I first want to get to like just the timeline. So you graduated college, and how soon after that did you audition for NBC Songland? And
oh my God.
What made you audition for that? What inspired you to do that? When did you hear about the show?
Yeah, so I graduated, I was 20, and I was like, what do I do? School's over. Oh no.
Right. Typical.
And I think I was working with a manager for about a year, and she was very involved in the dance space, which is how I ended up doing a bunch of features. But that's not like necessarily my joy and pride and my passion. Like I like doing them, but it's not what gets me up in the morning. So I was doing that, and a friend of mine texted me. This was the year after I'd graduated. So it was really like, I don't know, maybe it was 8 months after I'd graduated, 9 months. And he was like, oh, I just did this pilot for this show called Songland, and I think I have a Charlie Puth cut. And I was like, what? And this was my friend from UCLA. So I was like, how did that happen, Zach's organ? And
how can I make that happen?
Yeah. This sounds very interesting. So he said, if you're interested, send me a few songs that you think would be your top 3 and send those over to me. I'll pass them along to the casting people. And it was a very quick process. I think from the time that I sent those songs in to the time I was filming was like 3 weeks, possibly.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a very quick turnaround.
That's insane. So did you get the chance to even watch the show before you did that, or you just heard?
So they had never done it before. We didn't get to see the pilot or anything. It was the first season of it. So we had no idea. I didn't think I would ever do like a reality competition sort of show, but it's very different from The Voice or American Idol, even though it came from the people who did The Voice. But you were there for, I don't know, we were there for 6 days and shot maybe 3 of those days. It was very quick, very in and out. So it was really enjoyable experience. And we met our queen, Meghan Trainor, queen of all. Queen of all things, supportive
our goddess,
queen.
Our queen. Yes. We bow down to her.
Yes.
But I do have to say, like, not only did you audition for Songland, but you also won. You won.
True.
What was that experience like, figuring out you won, especially never having seen the show before, just hearing about it, just doing it for, 6 days immediately? Did you have any idea that it would lead you to that?
No, I was also very skeptical. I've just been around this industry for a long time. And even as a kid, I was an actor. So like I did commercials and auditioned for a million things. So I'm very used to like, oh, this seems like it's happening, but just wait. It still might not happen. So every step of the way, I was kind of like, okay, this is cool, but like, when is it over?
I don't
like,
believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
She says she's releasing the song, but like, is she releasing the song? Because I don't know if she's going to. She said it, and I heard it come out of her mouth. But like, who knows? And it's a good way to be, because things change, especially in entertainment. Like, things change so quickly, and you can't really rely on anything coming through until it is literally on Spotify or out. So, but I mean, it was a whirlwind week, and after I like won, or she chose my song, we ended up doing 2 days with me, Megan, Ryan Tedder, and Mike Sabbath at Ryan's house, and
incredible.
Definitely the biggest session. It was the biggest room I had been a part of up to that point. I was like, what's happening here?
Huge.
Yeah.
What were your nerves like walking into that session? Did you kind of put those people on a pedestal? Obviously you'd looked up to them for years. Or did you go into it like, I belong in this room, like I've earned it, I've worked for this?
I think because of the circumstances, we were going in to finish a song that I had written with me and one other person, and I had kind of like knocked out the top line in 30 minutes. So I was like, all right, if they like this and she wants to do it, then here we go. And Megan, the second you walk in, like, she really is disarming as far as how warm she is and welcoming, and so complimentary and just hypes you up. So like, if there were any nerves, which I'm sure I had some, she kind of like gets those out of the way very quickly. And Mike Sabbath obviously is crazy talented, and we're similar ages, so I was like, oh, we're here with the homies, we're not stressing about it at all. But yeah, then you do go into the bathroom and see Ryan's Grammy for Adele on the toilet, and you're like, oh, okay, this is where we are.
Let me put myself back into
this is where we are. Yeah exactly.
Wow. So first of all, everybody go stream Hurt Me by Meghan Trainor and Cole. And while you're at it, I recommend you go stream Cole's solo music. My current obsession is Common Sense. I freaking love that song. Like, there's something in it. There's something in it.
It's got crack in it. Yeah, it really does.
It's got crack in it. Gets me up in the morning. It's incredible.
Thank you.
I have to ask, like, obviously, you're an incredible writer. You have your artist project as well, and you collaborate with a lot of incredible producers like Ariza, which you did that song with, right? Common Sense?
Yes, that was me and Ariza.
We love Ariza, incredible producer. We've done some songs with him that are coming out soon. But I just have to ask, what do you prioritize more? Obviously, I know you more consistently write, but you still also have your artist project that is doing well, really well. Has got you touring, has got you collabs, is millions of streams. Like, how do you balance those two worlds, and which one are you prioritizing currently?
I think over the pandemic, because we were home so much and there were no tours and there was just so much downtime, I was really prioritizing writing for other people. I didn't even think about my artist project for those 2 years. Was that the right thing to do? Who knows? But I'm kind of getting to the point in life where I think I would look back and be remiss if I didn't give my all to an artist project. For me, though, my all, I think, looks different than somebody else's all, because I feel like when I have the right collaborators around me, I also produce. So like, when I carve out time to do it for myself, I do. It doesn't take me weeks or months or however long to find songs that I feel are right for me, to find a sound. I feel like that's all very locked in. So it really is just about dedicating a few hours a week to that and continuing to write for other people, because I think the definition for me of success is making everybody around you successful and yourself successful. Because in doing that, especially women, like, I'm very passionate about working with women and female artists and just lifting everybody up who's around you, because that's really, what more could you ask for? So that's the focus right now. I really am doing an even split, I would say, and I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying it.
I love it. It's perfect. And I have to say, as one of your collaborators, I really appreciate that quality about you, that you really do. I mean, when we're in a room together, it really does feel like we're hyping each other up, we're lifting each other up. And it's not necessarily that you're, you know, a yes man who just is there to like bring the good vibes. I think it's like the complete opposite. Like, you're actually there to write a really good song and to help someone's career grow, but you naturally have such an incredible personality and way with your songwriting that it's just so comfortable and open. And obviously, as a writer, you have to have this vulnerableness to you that lets you, you know, allows you to talk to anyone and everyone about their deepest, darkest secrets.
It is a problem for me on first dates, because everyone's like, why are we getting into this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just used to meeting strangers and getting them to tell me their secrets. So I don't know what to tell you.
And having a therapist as your mom, I assume that that gives you
I'm like an amateur little armchair therapist over here.
Exactly. Oh, I get it. You are my therapist. 1000%. So not only do you write in the room with other artists like we do, we go into a room and write a song with a producer or by ourselves, but you also write songs separate from the artist process and then pitch those songs to a bigger artist like Kelly Clarkson, NCT, Red Velvet, Boa, Taeyeon, a million more. Which, speaking of which, I see that little Billboard plaque behind you. What's that about?
Oh, you know, there was an album that went number one on Billboard that I wrote a song on, and that was crazy. It was my first K-pop cut was with a group called NCT, and I had been to Korea twice already and had a lot of songs on hold, but this was the first one that was released, and so it comes out and it goes number one in the world, like, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is just this is what every song does, right?
Right.
I'm like, isn't this just how it goes?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a blessing and a curse for the first one to do that. Right. But no, I'm very proud of her or him, them, and I didn't realize when I hung it that it was right in the Zoom frame. So every Zoom that I have, I'm just like, but it wasn't the intention. It just was the.
You should work that. You owned that. You deserve it. You should be putting that. It should be almost even like closer, more centered.
What if I just put it like right in front of me, like right here?
Yeah. Maybe you just cover your face with it.
Yeah.
But how does it feel every time that you receive the news that you got a huge cut like that? Especially, obviously, that was your first one, but it's gone up from there. You have to realize that's not the only one. You do have an incredible song with Kelly Clarkson that you wrote. I mean, a million more, but
that was amazing. Yeah.
Every time you receive the news that like the artist is choosing to cut your song?
I guess the first reaction is, are they? Are they really?
Really?
What's the plan? So that's the first two. And then once we get past that, like the Kelly Clarkson one made me cry, made my mom cry, made my whole family cry.
God,
just because.
I think I cried too.
Oh, thanks. It's a very emotional ballad. It's a gorgeous song. And to hear her sing it that's like what you dream about as a songwriter, to have somebody like that. And at that point, you're like, I don't care how the song does. I just am so happy that I get to hear Kelly Clarkson sing a song that I wrote. And she's so gracious. And I remember she performed it on her show, like the Kelly Clarkson show, and Jimmy Fallon. And she was like, these incredible songwriters sent me this song. And I'm like, wow, who does that? Artists at her level don't usually credit songwriters or producers, really. So
that's why we all think that they wrote them.
Exactly.
They don't usually credit.
It doesn't make a difference to the audience, because they're like, oh, you sing it in a way that I understand it. And
yes,
you know, Kelly Clarkson sounds very different to me singing the demo. Right. So it was incredible to have her be so gracious and actually acknowledge the people who made the record. So
and not only obviously hearing her vocals on the song is just like gives you the chills, that freak out, tears, sobs hearing her sing her vocals, but also the fact that she resonated with those lyrics in the song so much that she chose that one over, I'm sure, hundreds and hundreds that she gets a day. The fact that she really resonated with that, I think that's an incredible thing too. And for artists like her to be able to take someone else's words and make them so their own in a way that she does is just so incredible. You can tell like they have just as much, you know, respect for the writers, especially for her shouting you guys out like that.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. you definitely can tell. There are artists who get only pitch songs and don't write and never acknowledge it. And I think for somebody like Kelly or like you guys do write so much, so you understand what it takes to write a song. And
1000%.
in knowing that, you are able to like be gracious if that time, I don't know if you'll ever take an outside song, but like she doesn't usually, and she's able to be gracious. She's like, oh, I've written my entire catalog. I'm not embarrassed to be like, oh, somebody helped me out with this. Because it's just more power to you.
Right. Yeah. It's a completely connected world. They go hand in hand. There's not one way you can do one thing without the other. So it's pretty important.
Definitely not.
But I have to bring up, obviously, a nightmare, but also brought us together, Zoom. Not sponsored. Zoom. But I have to say, we met over Zoom, like peak pandemic time. I think it was summer 2020, like we said earlier.
Locked it down.
And I have such a negative connotation to Zoom just because it's so hard as an artist to write a song and connect with the writer. And somehow, I mean, you are like the holy grail Zoomer. And I connected so well with you from the first Zoom, and it just kind of bloomed into this incredible writer relationship that we have together. Like I mentioned earlier, you are my songwriting soulmate. Oh, but I do think it's like very incredible that we, worked so much together before ever actually meeting.
Yep. That was a long time on Zoom for us.
Yes, it was a long time. And I think you still take a lot of Zoom sessions currently as well, especially since you write with people from all over the place.
Yep.
How is your experience with Zoom? And obviously, as a writer, how is that experience different than writing for an artist project?
Yeah, I think I work with people all over the world, so I still use Zoom. And some days, if I don't want to leave my house and we're just doing a pitch record for something random, I'm down to just hop on Zoom and not leave my apartment. So I think the trick to Zoom at the time was that people were putting a lot of pressure on everybody on a Zoom to just move as fast as you can, get it done, or they were doing the opposite where they weren't following through with records. And it's hard to be very present when you're staring at a screen. And I think for me, the key is just caring about who you're on Zoom with and trying to figure them out. And I think one of my maybe skills as a songwriter is kind of more of a people person thing, is that you kind of have to read the room. Like if you're working with a songwriter who isn't happy with the direction of the production or isn't happy with the direction that the song is going, and they're not saying it, but you can kind of read their face and read their energy,
you got to back them up.
You have to advocate for them and be a voice if they're not ready to say something, or they don't, like, you can check with them and be like, how are we feeling about this? But it's kind of your job as a songwriter to advocate for an artist and make them feel comfortable, especially a younger artist 100%. Who's getting started and working with these like 30, 40-year-old men. So for us especially, though, I think we are compatible as human beings off the... I think we would possibly be friends even if we didn't write together, or if we don't write together. Like, I think I could see us getting along. So that's always helpful. And I think I do have like a little Zoom spirit in me. Like I can still read the room over Zoom. I think I can still read the room over Zoom for whatever reason. And that's
definitely do. And as far as advocating for the artist, I think I've like, not only have you helped me with that, but I've also learned a lot from the way that you kind of control sessions in that way. I think obviously we've had communication in sessions and been like, all right, do we like where this is heading? Like maybe we should try and switch it. But also just the idea of not you speaking for me, but us like feeling this consensus to like, all right, we're not in the move. And then it gives me like the confidence to be able to say that. I'm like, it gives me the confidence to do that and then bring it into other sessions where you might not be there. Sad. But I've learned that from you. I've taken it on from you. It is okay to change the direction of a session. It is okay to say that you don't like something and start over. You're not, wasting time. You're actually,
saving a lot of time.
You're saving a lot of time because you're not, writing for nothing. You're actually trying to get something great out about it. You're caring, which is a big part of it. And I think like I've really appreciated that from you. I know we've had a lot of mid-session talks where we're just like where this is going, like should we,
what are the vibes?
what are the vibes? That's always the saying. But also wanted to say you're currently with Cobalt Music and you've been with them for how long?
I've been with them for a little over 2 years now. I signed a couple, like maybe 2 months before the pandemic.
Wow. So
yes.
how has that been? I know you've met a lot of people through there, and that's who books your sessions, for those who don't know.
Yes, they do my schedule, and they're incredible. I mean, Cobalt's I think the culture is just a lot of very kind people who are good at what they do on both the industry, the business side, and on the creative side. So I've been very lucky, and I had known Sue Drew at Cobalt while I was in college, and that's who ended up signing me when after I graduated, and it just all felt very meant to be and very full circle. And I'm lucky that I had them in the pandemic because they kept me booked and busy. And I was down to Zoom like the second. I think the first week I was Zooming. You were like, so like we shut down on the 12th and I had a Zoom on the 14th. I was like,
of course.
Maybe before Zoom was a thing, I think I was FaceTime sessions with people. So I was ready to go because I really wanted to prove myself in that first year that you sign a deal is pretty important as a songwriter, I would say.
Yes. Not
necessarily how many cuts you get, but the quality of the songs you're turning in and the passion that you're bringing to every room really matters in that first year. So it was a challenge. It was a challenge. And I think obviously if I'm working with an artist, I would always rather be in a room with them just because you get like a tenfold of how much you're able to connect and speak about things and not feel like disconnected or clinical, because Zooms can be very clinical, which is why for me it works for pitch, because I'm like, what do they want? Let's get it done, send it off, right? But for artists, you want to like get coffee and get lunch and hang out and
for an hour,
talk about things. So I think that Cobalt's been amazing, and I'm so lucky to have them. And it doesn't really matter. I think I speak to a lot of songwriters who are getting started and they're like, I want to sign a deal. I'm ready to sign a deal. I'm like, that's great that you're ready, but just make sure that the deal you're signing is A, fair to you, and B, is with people who are passionate about you. Because at the end of the day, it does not matter. Same with labels. It doesn't matter where you are. It matters how hard the people you're signed to are willing to fight for you.
Yes, 1,000%. And I think that reflects, the people who work for you reflects, who you are as a person too. And you don't want to be working with people that you don't necessarily enjoy. You're going to be communicating with them on a regular basis. They're going to be every day. They're going to be communicating for you to other people. You want them to do that properly in the way that you want to be, expressed. And I think that's huge, especially as a writer, having someone constantly advocating for you and getting you in the rooms you want to be in. But not only are you an extremely impressive writer, but you're also an incredible producer. Incredible. How long have you been producing? When did you get in production? I know I think for our first sessions you produced all of those, and
that's true. Do you want to know what's crazy? So a song that we did in the summer, You, Me, and Liv, Gentlemen. Yes. That was the first time I had ever produced in a session.
No way.
Because I've been producing since college, since like my sophomore or junior year. Maybe I was making a lot of experimental music and doing scores for dancers and like 1.5-minute long pieces every week. And I was very much involved in production, but also would never ever say that I was a producer. I was like, no, I just do this for fun. And
which I feel like real. We're trained to say too, as not obviously everyone experiences this self-doubt, especially when you're first learning something. But as women in the industry, I feel like it's not a normal thing to be a producer. So you kind of you downplay it because there's also Anyway,
I was sorry to cut you off. I was just gonna say I didn't mean to step on you. Zoom, come on. This is a classic Zoom. But I feel like also as women and female producers, there's usually this voice inside your head that's telling you that you have to be incredible before you call yourself a producer. Yes. You have to be finishing pop records that could be on the radio before you call yourself a producer. Meanwhile, 100%. There are many, many, many male producers who could not finish a record by themselves that is either on the radio or they have cuts that they didn't do by themselves, and that's fine. Nobody questions it. There's so many songs where there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 producers on it, and nobody's going around asking these men, oh, how much did you do on this record? And I had a song come out that I co-produced with a really great friend of mine on Republic for an artist, and it was like my first major label production cut, and I was so excited about it. Wow. And I got messages being like, oh, what did you do Like, did you do the vocals? And I'm like,
how much?
No.
You obviously didn't really like actually produce this.
You didn't touch anything, right? And I'm like, no, that's crazy that I'm even being asked that. And at this point, I've been producing in sessions and for other people for like about a year and a half. And it's shocking that I'm still getting these questions, but I'm also not.
Of course.
Maybe it's, what is it? Surprised but not shocked.
Yeah.
It's one of those. And I think
surprised,
I have
but
so
it's
many
also
friends.
Expected.
Yeah, I have so many friends who are also producers who are women or non-binary, and they get the same questions years and years into their career as producers. So buckle up. We're ready for more of those. But
awesome.
I really enjoy producing, and I love
it.
Yes, exactly. I've really loved being able to host sessions and have all girls in a room and just take the pressure off and focus on a song and get something that we're all so happy with without having... I mean, I have men that I adore and love working with. Of
course.
It's not to say that I'm going to ever stop working with those people. But at the same time, sometimes it can be really nice to have a little like girls' afternoon and not feel the pressure of impressing somebody who has some sort of crazy production level going on. I'm like, oh, we can make a song that we really love and then we can figure out what we want to do with it.
There's less of a need to constantly prove yourself in a room if you're surrounded by people who have that same experience that you do, you know, with advocating for themselves in a room. But I do have to say, I know we're both huge advocates for women in music and in the industry, especially as a writer, artist, producer that you are. What has your experience been in the industry as a female in music? Is it more positive, more negative? You've obviously been in the industry in a lot of different aspects as a writer and artist and also producer. How do each of those coincide?
I think that I've been really lucky to meet men and have male friends who are not just chill and nice, but are also allies and advocates and very open. Ariza, for example, has taught me so much about production.
Incredible.
So much. I've learned so much from him, and I know he's that way with everyone he collaborates with. Unfortunately, there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on and a lot of mentorship that goes on between men and women. So like a lot of male producers will just be funneled into situations and given opportunities that female producers aren't. Like, people are very weird about gatekeeping their vocal chains, like all these things that shouldn't be knowledge that's only spread like from one person to the next person to the next person. It's still that way for whatever reason. So as a woman in the industry, you kind of have to find those allies and find those people who are willing to just open up the door for you and say, 100%. Hey, would you like to co-produce this? I know you're a producer. If you're not comfortable even stepping up and saying, I produce, I want to touch this. But I'm so lucky to have met those people, and my experience as a woman in music has not been terrible because I think I learned early on that the people that you're not comfortable around are not the people you should be working with.
And you don't have to.
You don't have to. It's the only industry, it's the only job in the entire world where you can pick who you're surrounded by every day. And if you meet somebody and you don't like them, or if you feel like they're not truly supportive of you, or if they have an ego, whatever it is, you never have to see them again. Because you can become successful in this industry by yourself, with one other person, with two other people, or with a group of people, and you can decide who that group is. There's no showing up to, even with acting, like you don't choose who's on set with you. That's not your choice. But as an artist or writer, I can say no anytime I want to say no. So I think it took a while to learn how to say no to things, but once I did, I was like, oh, I'm so much happier.
Right. And I think obviously us saying this now sounds so obvious. If you don't like someone, don't hang out with them, don't work with them, whether it's personal or in this career, in this industry. But it's a huge lesson that is still being taught to this day, and still, you know, you learn from experience. I think that's a huge thing I've also grown lucky with, is like realizing that I like Nicole, I'm going to put her in like all of my sessions from here on out. I don't like this person, I don't have to work with them again. We had one bad day, maybe it was an off day, but if this is somebody that I don't necessarily feel like I can open up to in this manner, I do not have to surround myself with them. And it's a huge thing to learn. And I also think since this industry is, as far as the creative side of it, is so personal, there's not a leeway to like let people in and just hear your entire life and open up to them for hours and hours on end if you don't enjoy speaking with them.
Yep. Or if you don't trust them. Yeah.
If you don't trust them, you kind of have to treat it as a friendship, as a relationship, even if it's someone you've, only met that day over Zoom maybe.
Yeah.
But it's a very important thing to keep in mind. And I feel lucky to have witnessed you in the room as a writer and a producer. I've witnessed you whip out your laptop and then be like, let me like see if I can whip up some stuff in a session, which takes a lot of bravery and a lot of experience to be able to do that, especially in a room with a producer who's like, what do you mean? This was my session. Like, I'm going to produce this out. But I think collaboration is a huge thing and a huge way to learn. I think even with me, like in production, just observing people producing, just observing, how not only how they do it, but how they communicate what they like to hear. And I think being in so many sessions, that's just how you learn.
And a lot of females and women songwriters are producing. They just don't know it, or they're not told that they're a producer because they maybe don't have the hands-on technical skill to do it at that point, or they don't have the language to express it. But if you're a songwriter and you're saying, hey, I need the beat to sound like, dun, 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 like if you're beatboxing or if you're singing a bass line, in the classical sense, you are producing. It's just a matter of, the hours that it takes to like learn those skills, but it's not rocket science. And really, I believe anybody can produce. It doesn't matter. For sure doesn't matter your gender. And songwriters already have a leg up on that because you have your ear and if you're sitting in a room and you're like, I don't like how the track sounds, I'm just not sure how to express what I want. All it takes is, and you've grown so much in doing that in the past year, being able to jump in and, express what you want to hear in a track. And the difference from 1 year from you is so crazy because I get to watch you grow and it's so exciting. I mean, obviously you can sing the phone book and it would sound incredible, but watching you kind of fine tune your writing skills and fine tune your production has been so exciting to watch because that's a whole other ball game, really.
Thank you. Well, I think even this whole next project that's coming out soon, we wrote majority of those songs together. I think the next song that's coming out was just us writing on it. And this is my first time co-producing an album, and I obviously, learned a lot from you and watching you do it, and not only like taking in the analytical part of what you're doing, but also just learning that I can do it. Like I actually can, like seeing someone else do it, being like, oh my gosh, wait, this is a possibility. And I think for a while when like working on this next project with Brandon, my producer, I would always tell people like, I'm like co-producing it. Like Brandon let me co-produce it. And I was like, wait, why am I saying he let me? Like he was extremely collaborative and we had an amazing time experimenting and collaborating together. No one was allowing me. No. You take that on yourself. I think we downplay ourselves so much, even, as writers in a room being like, hey, what do you think about this?
Do you mind?
Do you like this? Do you mind if I... But I think like just witnessing you in a room and like just building that confidence, gaining that confidence to speak up and just give your opinion. I mean, at the end of the day, my name's on the song. We're writing the song. Our names are on the credits. Like you have to like what you put out and you can't settle for anything less than that. And I think I've realized that if I'm not a part of the production process, I won't feel as connected to the song. It doesn't
connect to you. And I think before this experience, I know you were playing guitar in a lot of your demos and, starting tracks with just you and a guitar. And producers would keep that guitar and you wouldn't get production credit. And to me, there are some producers who make their entire careers out of loops on guitars, or they get bought out of the loop that they provide, or they get compensated for it. And I'm like, oh, so Lindsey is building this track with these people and she's not getting credited for it. So I'm so excited that you found a collaborator who is so open and so willing to connect with you on that level. And it's not just guitar, obviously, that you're doing on there, just to be very clear to everybody who's watching. She's amazing at guitar, but she also produced a lot of this. Like, no, don't get me twisted, because I say that and then someone's like, oh, she just played guitar in it.
No, I'm kidding. But also for the guitar process, I think a lot of the times I would start with my guitar in the room, literally write the entire song on the guitar with my co-writers, and then as soon as we were going to actually record it, the producer would be like, can you teach me the chords? I'm like, I can just cut it. Like, it's a way quicker, and it feels way more me if you want to just mic up my guitar right now, and I won't have to teach you the chords.
Yep.
And I think I've like realized, instead of just handing over my guitar and let someone else do it, like that is
no, I'll do it. Yep.
Such a huge part of my artistry, such a huge part of any, artist, if they have an instrument and support themselves, like, why not play that yourself if it's, how you started the song? And I think for a while it took a lot of lessons learned to stand up for myself in that aspect and actually open my guitar case in a session and be like, I'm gonna cut this myself. And my priorities have shifted so much in that way. And I think like us working together, honestly, so consistently, finding someone like you who I know every session, whether it's a hit or not, whether I love the song or not, we are always going to have like an amazing experience together. I'm always going to learn something from you. I'm always going to, say something that I wanted to say that day. And I think that's like the most important thing that any writer could ask for, is finding someone like that.
Oh, well, I feel the same about you, because I know every time we have a day in the calendar, I'm like, yes, I'm back with Lindsey, or anytime you've been in town. Just because I'm so inspired by you as an artist. Like, you're somebody that if I didn't work with you, I would listen to your music and be like, who is this? She's incredible. So I'm just a fan over here. I'm like, I get to work with Lindsey today. It's always exciting. Always, always, always exciting.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. And my second to last thing, I heard you're playing a show. Your first show in 2 years tomorrow?
Yeah, at the Moroccan Lounge.
How do you feel about that? That's huge.
I'm excited. I haven't played live since before the pandemic, and this opportunity came up. A friend of mine is headlining the night, and she was like, would you want to play a set? And I said yes, kind of on a whim.
Hell yeah.
And I'm playing with a friend of mine. We're going to do like a 2-guitar set, and I'm going to be using a looper pedal, which I have not used live before. But It should be really fun. I'm going to channel my inner Ed Sheeran
for this
you are. Show. So, yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be great to get back into it. I really love playing live, and it's been so long that I'm excited to dip my toe back into it. And see how it
it's
feels.
A huge part of the process, too, just being able to, like, realize people are real, and you can get active feedback from a crowd again.
Yeah, well, it's been crazy to watch I haven't been able to go to any of the shows, but, like, your stories from tour, watching those songs that we wrote sung back to you is so crazy. And they're not out. They just pick it up.
No, that's honestly, I feel like performing is the part for me that really like solidifies everything. And I get to like choose these songs and then perform them and be like, how do I feel performing these, and how does the crowd react to them? And it's such a big part of the process for me, and it always has been. And not having that for 2 years kind of like, I don't know, difficult. Confidence like trickled away for a bit until I could like really get in front of a crowd and be like,
just like, oh wait, I'm a star.
Oh wait, no, okay. just like bouncing off of a crowd to feel like which songs you're most comfortable playing is huge. And I'm so excited for you for that show. I wish I could be there.
Oh,
I need I need videos. I need updates.
I'll be live streaming only to you.
Only to me.
Direct live stream to your eyelids.
Just FaceTime me from the stage. Just FaceTime me.
Yeah, I think that's the vibe.
Priority.
This is Lindsey. We rate songs together, and she's gonna sing for you now. I'll put you up to the mic.
It's just like cutting out every 2 seconds.
Special guest.
Amazing. Well, lastly and most importantly, tell us about your dog Milk. Where is he right now? How is he not in frame? I've never seen him without Milk. I feel like you should.
Is it allowed to go get him? Okay.
I feel like Milk should go say goodbye for us.
Okay, Milk should say goodbye.
He should sign us off. The real star of this interview, everyone.
Wow, thanks for saving best for last.
There he is.
Milk, say goodbye.
Forget about Cole. Everybody look at Milk.
My son.
This is the real celebrity, star of the show, Milk.
This is why we get along. She's using me for my dog.
I am. I'm using you for your dog, and I'm glad that you're self-aware. You know that. We don't have to skip over that part.
No. Trust. I know what you come to LA for, and it's not me.
Oh yeah, it's just my annual Milk visits. That's all I need to keep me going. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for doing this with me, for chatting with me, for allowing me to take a little bit of your time away from your incredible craft and all that you do. I'm so honored to be like friends with you, to work with you. I'm just like amazed by you constantly.
I would say you took the words out of my mouth about you, and I'm so excited to watch you continue to grow and blossom, and for these songs to be out.
Songs to come out.
They're like some of my favorite songs I've ever been a part of, just to put that into the universe.
I mean, genuinely my favorite songs I've ever written, and I just feel so lucky to do it with you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course, I love you. I miss you.
I love and miss you so much. All right. Bye, Nicole.
Bye.
Count up all your problems, then just